Well, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It is Tuesday, March 15th, and it is 6 o'clock, Director Johnson, and we're here at 901 Main Street at the Assembly Hall, and we're calling our meeting to order. This is the Board of Commissioners board work session tonight, and I believe, Director Relish, that we don't have any, no special recognition tonight.
No, Mr. Chairman, we do not.
Okay. All right, Commissioners, we'll just move on to item 2A, Director.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So item 2A is a resolution regarding the Board of Commissioners requesting the introduction of local legislation and the creation of a public facilities authority. If you recall, back in January, you adopted Resolution 2022-03. We have made some amendments and gave to the delegation, and we have our Executive Director Lewis here to speak on those tonight.
All right, very good. Come on up, Director Lewis.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm presenting some of the changes in the PFA resolution that was submitted to the state. It's important to note that these changes came about through feedback from our public information sessions and from citizens' input. The highlight of the changes are as follows. Both the City of Conyers and Rockdale School District have been removed from the resolution. The board shall consist of 5 members that shall be appointed by the Board of Commissioners. The requirements for being a member are as follows. Must be 21 years of age, must be a resident of Rockdale County for 2 years, and must not be convicted of a felony. County Commissioners may not appoint themselves as members. The initial appointment of 2 members will be appointed for a term of 3 years, and 2 members will be appointed for 2 years. 1 member will be appointed for 1. Thereafter, all terms will be for 3 years. Members will be removed for cause. 3 members shall constitute a quorum. And prior to the adoption of the resolution authorizing revenue bonds, the authority shall hold a public hearing. Notice of this public hearing shall be published in a paper of general circulation in the county. And finally, of the major changes, debt will not exceed 10% of the county's general fund revenues. Now, while these are some of the changes that came through the recommendations from the public information sessions and our citizens, when the resolution is passed at the state level, there will be additional recommendations that are better represented in the bylaws of the PFA.
All right. Very good. Commissioners, any comments for Director Lewis?
Yes, I do. Could you clarify that debt limit of 10%?
10% of the county's general fund revenues, that the debt will not exceed 10% of the county fund's general revenues.
Per year. Is that correct?
Is that was, I'm going to ask
yeah.
our legal counsel and financial to join me up here.
Yeah.
Make sure.
Commissioners, good evening.
Good evening.
Mac Underwood. Yes, Commissioner, that's it. What it is if your budget, if your revenue is $80 million, then you cannot spend more than $8 million on debt service. If your revenue goes up to $85 million, you cannot spend more than $8.5 million per year for debt service.
Per year.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Just wanted to get that
Thank you.
clear.
All right, Commissioner
Sure.
Washington, any questions?
I do have a couple. Could you speak to how this aligns with fiscal responsibility, these changes, and management of county funds?
Well, I think most notably the one we just pointed out in regards to the debt not being able to exceed 10% of the revenues of the county, just making sure that we aren't spending more revenue than we in actuality have.
And that's all I have for right now.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Director. Thank you so much.
So, Mr. Chairman and Board of Commissioners, if I could, since we have introduced this amendment to the delegation, I would like to ask that you have a motion to approve the amended version of the resolution as presented tonight.
Commissioners, what is your pleasure?
I move to approve the amended resolution as presented.
I second.
It's been properly motioned and second. Are there any additional questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Can I just say that I appreciate the work that went into looking at the comments from our citizens and redoing this resolution with those amendments so that it fits Rockdale County. So thank you.
Commissioner Washington.
I'm clear. I'm good.
All right, okay.
Well, let me say, I did tell her sentiments, but I don't have anything further.
Okay, very good. All right, that being said, Director Rowledge, I think we're down to our regular agenda review.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. So we'll start off with item 2022-129 with Andrew Moman with the Superior Court. This is for employment support and outreach services in the amount of $7,500 through June 30th, 2022, and this is grant funded.
Okay, next item.
Item 130 is with ADP LLC Professional Services for Talent Management. This is for the RESNAV org chart now custom system integration. It's an additional services to sync information and track vacancies in current system. It's change order number 6 to contract 2007-211, and it's additional $1,600. Item 131 is with ANS Paving Incorporated with the Stormwater Management Department. This is for on-call storms drainage infrastructure system construction for multiple projects. It's a unit price contract not to exceed $4,504,595 up to 3 years. It's a 1 year with option to renew 2 additional 1-year periods. Item 132 is with Professional Turf Services / Pro Turf LLC. This is for the Parks and Recreation Department for turf care services. It's the amount of $43,040 per year. It's 1 year with option to renew 3 additional 1-year periods. Item 133 is with Lexapol with the Sheriff's Office for Police 1 and Corrections 1 Academy online training tool for the jail staff in the amount of $5,942.20. This is for fiscal year 2022, and $8,912.20 for fiscal year 2023. The terms are May 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022, and January 1st, 2023 through December the 31st, 2023.
Okay.
Item 134 is with Carla Sutton Moore, doing business as Moore to Life Counseling and Consulting LLC through the Fire Rescue Department. This is for counseling, consulting, and psychological screening in the amount of $45,625. This is for 1 year with option to renew 4 additional 1-year periods. Item 135 is with CH8 Consulting Incorporated through the Transportation Department. This is for the Farmer Road at Lakeview Estates roadway design. This is change order number 5 to contract 2018-186. This is to add additional design services at additional cost of $4,700, and it's SPLOST funded. Item 136 is with Atlas Technical Consultants for the Transportation Department. This is for the Program Management Services. It's contract number 5 to contract, change order number 5 to contract 2020-23. It's an additional $100,000 to extend the term through December 31st, 2022, and it's SPLOST funded. Item 137 is with Techwell Services Incorporated through the Water Resources Department. This is for high service pumps 1 and 2 rebuild. This is change order number 1 to contract 2021-184 to add special coatings at an additional cost of $2,700 and at 120 days. Item 138 is with Terminus Municipal Advisors Llc through the Finance Department. This is for municipal advisory services at $10,500 per month for 1 year with automatic annual 1-term renewal terms. Item 139 is a requisition through the Water Resources Department for Woolport. This is for a fee additional flow monitoring for 7 locations within the Snapping Shoals Basin. This is for the 3 months duration in the amount of $43,170. Item 140 is a requisition through the Water Resources Department for Delta Municipal. These are for water meters for the AMI radio read project in the amount of $915,000. This is SPLOST funded. Item 141 is a requisition through the Water Resources Department through United Maintenance. This is the replacement of HVAC unit at Centennial Olympic Pump House in the amount of $106,877. Item 142 is a requisition through the Transportation Department for BM&K for CEI services for SPLOST 4A roadway rehabilitation in the amount of $330,754.80. This is SPLOST funded. Item 143 is a requisition through General Services Department for CXT Incorporated and LB Foster Company for costly mill trail parking for the costly mill trail parking lot at Denali Restroom in the amount of $86,900.64, and this is SPLOST funded. Item 144 is a requisition through the General Services Department for Strategic Datacom Incorporated to install camera video systems at the UGA Extension Teaching Kitchen in the amount of $32,333.37. This is host funded. Item 145 is a requisition through the Fire and Rescue Department for Georgia Fire and Rescue Supply for a trench kit in the amount of $20,883. Item 146 is a requisition through the Fire and Rescue Department for Derek Crawley for fire inspections consulting plan review for code compliance in the amount of $16,000. Item 147 is a list of surplus of equipment through the Sheriff's Office and the Finance Department. Item 148 are the fees for the Rockdale County Parks and Recreation fee schedule policy. And item 149 is a text amendment request 2021-24, an ordinance to amend the text of section 106-1 definitions, section 218-1 permitted use table, section 218-13 the standards of use and development, section 222-11 parking vehicles in residential districts of the Unified Development Ordinance of Rockdale County as amended, regarding vehicle parking to repeal conflicting laws and for other purposes. This will be submitted for a second reading next Tuesday. Item 150 is a text amendment request 2021-27, an ordinance to amend the text of section 206-4 R2 two-family duplex residential district of the Unified Development Ordinance of Rockdale County as amended, regarding structures with only 2 townhome units to repeal conflicting laws and for other purposes. This will be submitted for a second reading next Tuesday. Item 151 is text amendment case 2021-28, an ordinance to amend the text of section 102-1 definitions, section 218-1 permitted use table, section 218-13 supplemental standards of use and development of the Unified Development Ordinance of Rockdale County as amended, regarding sale, rental, and leasing of vehicles to repeal conflicting ordinances and for other purposes. This will be submitted for a second reading next Tuesday. Item 152 is an ordinance to amend the conditions of approval of zoning case 95-01 for 0 Orchard Road Southwest to repeal conflicting ordinances and for other purposes. This will be submitted for a first reading next Tuesday. Item 153, the applicant has decided to redo their application, so this item will be pulled off the agenda.
Very good. Okay.
Item 154 is a requisition through the Sheriff's Office for Brandon Motor Company for the 2022 Ford Inceptor EcoBoost. This is the replacement of the heat vehicle in the amount of $37,800. This is submitted for ratification. Item 155 is with CSX Transportation Incorporated request to rescind contract 2021-164 through the Water Resources Department. This was for a facility encroachment agreement, the Almond Branch Sewer Upsizing project in the amount of $11,400, and it was for 5 years. Item 156 is with CSX Transportation Incorporated through the Water Resources Department. This is for the facility encroachment agreement for the Almond Branch Sewer Upsizing. These are for the fees paid, and it's for 5 years. Item 157 is with Summit Construction and Development LLC through the Transportation Department. This is for the Grenade Road Sidewalk Project. It's change order number 1 to contract 2021-137. This is to the increase in quantities. Increased contract amount is $59,795, and it's SPLOST funded. Item 158 is with the Rockdale County Tax Commissioner's Office. This is a memorandum of understanding with the Rockdale County Board of Commissioners to place the annual stormwater fees on the property tax bills.
All right. Thank you, Executive Director Rutledge. Commissioners, we got through that pretty fast. And we are now down to public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe Chief Cabe is bringing up some cards. I don't know if we have any more red cards in the audience, and I will begin to read the disclaimer. As a reminder, public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Comments relative to any issues that are currently going through the public hearing process, matters that are in active litigation, political campaigning, or partisan politics will not be heard in this meeting. Speakers are to address the chairman, not each other or the audience, and are expected to conduct themselves in an appropriate manner. The use of abusive or profane language shall not be allowed. No debate or argument between speakers and/or members of the audience shall be permitted.
All righty. Thank you, Chief. Thank you so much. We'll start with Ms. Corliss Turner. Come on up, Ms. Turner.
Chairman and Commissioners.
Good evening.
I'm Corliss Turner. I am here to recap some things that were said at the board meeting on March the 8th. You stated that it was stated that the judges hadn't had a raise in 20 years, and you also stated some information about the 1,000 employees with the county, how they have been struggling. Let me see your exact words here. You said that it's been very tight, challenging climate, trying to figure out how they're going to buy food, pay rent, pay mortgage, and how they're going to buy band uniforms. I do agree that the county employees do need a raise, but I just want to mention that it's 93,000 citizens here, and you only thought about 1,000. There, not one time have you all helped the citizens as far as these same items that you're speaking of. And then as far as the judges with the raises, Nathan Deal signed in 2016, Bill, 279, where they got a 5% increase along with the other officials, or elected officials, which includes you all, because you do get a raise with the judges. So I don't think you were transparent in your resolution or whatever it's called, where you said some elected officials. I mean, you know it includes you, say it. I have a problem with that. Then Sherry, I think it was Sherry or Doreen.
You mean Commissioner Washington?
Thank you.
Oh.
Commissioner Washington.
I got it, Commissioner. I got it.
Okay. It was stated that it was questioned whether the Sheriff's Department was going to get some incentives, and she stated that Clayton County, Fulton County, City of Conyers, and DeKalb has been doing that. But I want to let you know that Clayton County had emergency rental assistance in 2021 and 2022. Fulton, $25 million for rental assistance. City of Conyers, $250,000 for business and resident. DeKalb County, $14 million for rental assistance. In August of 2021, $729,000. And what my purpose is that not one time have you all thought about the citizens. You did have a COVID incentive that was just recently, maybe last month, and they were giving away $50 gift cards. it was for testing. It did not state whether you had to have symptoms or not, and it was not advertised. I asked Sandra, I believe that's her name, over the senior center. She said that members of the senior center were called. I am not opposed to them doing that, but you didn't advertise it. All of this showing me that residents have never been considered in all of what you all are doing. So, and one more thing, do I have a second?
Unfortunately, Ms. Turner.
I know you're not going to give me no extra time, but I appreciate what you did give me.
Okay, let me start here. Thank you for all that you do on behalf of the citizens of Rockdale County. I want to bring a point of clarity because I'm going to do something different this year. I think I'm going to start right now. Each week, when we have public comment and folks come in and they speak stuff that is incorrect, and this broadcast is publicly broadcast for those citizens who are watching Channel 23, who subscribe to Comcast and Xfinity. For those citizens who watch this broadcast, when they hear any citizen come up and they speak incorrectly, or they speak with information that does not match up with the county in terms of what we've already talked about. To give you an example, I didn't reference 1,000 citizens because guess what? Rockdale County has nearly 95,000 residents. We have nearly 1,000 employees. That includes the Rockdale County Sheriff's Office and the Rockdale County Fire and Rescue Department and all other county departments. In addition to that, we talked multiple times last year about the fact that Rockdale County is the second smallest county in the state of Georgia. We don't receive federal funding the way that larger counties receive, such as larger counties, watch this, Fulton, DeKalb, Cobb, Gwinnett. They receive their funding directly to their county operations. A county like Rockdale County, we have to stand in line and wait. Wait for who? I'm glad you asked. The governor to give us our funding. We take public safety very seriously, and that's why on last week, our CFO gave a wonderful presentation that was not limited to public safety professionals. Public safety professionals, sheriff's deputies, fire and rescue, E911, EMA. It's obvious and evident by the showing of detention deputies here from the Rockdale County Sheriff's Office that there is a need for us to make sure that we can pay our employees a fair market rate. Last year, due to our budget, we were not able to do it. So last week, our CFO came up and advocated on behalf of all three of these commissioners that's sitting on this dais. And you're going to hear more from these deputies this afternoon about their quest for fair and equal pay. We totally support them. And there was once upon a time that the job that they're doing, I did it for 15 years. So I understand it. I get it. But we're not going to, Chief Cape, tolerate or just simply to allow it to passively go by week after week when people come in here with misinformation and they spread the wrong information instead of listening clearly. If it's recorded, it's like a video. If you see it, you see it. If you hear it, you hear it. How could you, if they said it was 10 red apples, how could you come in here and say it was 10 green apples? The man said red. You got to repeat exactly what you're hearing before you come in with miscommunication. I'm going to move forward.
I want to add something.
I'm going to yield to Commissioner Washington. Go ahead, and then I'll come to Commissioner Williams. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Number one, the emergency rental assistance. The chairman is exactly right. And let me say, when we got our ARPA funding, or the American Rescue funding, we did sit down as a group and we had allocated a small amount of money to try to do rental assistance. I went to the Department of Community Affairs to tell them about what we were getting ready to do. They said, hold up, don't use your money, because we have so much money that we can use for rental assistance. And so we developed a program that is now being emulated around the state of Georgia for rental assistance and getting people rental assistance that have to go through the Department of Community Affairs. They have been out here on numerous occasions to look at how we are helping our citizens that are being on the verge of eviction. So that is with the emergency rental assistance. As far as us not helping the community with our ARPA funds, we are the only jurisdiction that took a rollback rate 2 years in a row, and the entire Rockdale County benefited from our ARPA funds because we used part of our ARPA funds to balance the budget so that we could take the rollback rate 2 years in a row at their detriment, because we could not give raises because we took the rollback rate. So the entire Rockdale County, anybody who owns property, proper land in Rockdale County benefited from our ARPA funds. So those are two things that I wanted to address really quickly about the us and our ARPA allocations.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Williams.
Well, I wanted to point out that with the rollback rate, we now have the lowest tax rate, millage rate that we've had since 2010, I think is the number, the year. And my comment was exactly that everybody, 95,000 citizens benefited from that rollback rate that we took. And as Commissioner Washington said, it was to the detriment of every employee of this county that we did that, because we couldn't afford to give them a raise and help our citizens. Not only that, we were not able to even do a market study to find out what other communities are doing. It's only in the last week or two that we have been approached with, we have some extra funding. The first thing we talked about using those funds for was another market study and pay raises. So I just wanted to clarify those.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. And before I call up the next speaker for public comment, then we're going to call up the deputies who've submitted a red comment card. I do want to, let me just go ahead and do this. Ms. Gillard, come on up. Charlotte Gillard is our next speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, and good evening, Commissioners. I think it's very appropriate that the meeting is today, March the 15th, which is the Ides of March. There's a lot of fact-checking and that needs to go on from this agenda and the March 8th agenda. And Corliss Turner mentioned it a little bit. This is an article from the Rockdale Citizen: legislation to increase Rockdale Superior Court judges' salaries while also increase other elected officials. You're asking the local legislation for an increase in the county supplement. Now, all elected officials are paid with the state pay scale. What this is talking about is the county supplement percent in addition to their state compensation. Their state compensation goes up every year. They get bonuses, they get cost of living raises, they get step increases for longevity. And what the BOC barely mentioned is that it tied to the Superior Court judges' salaries, or the salaries of 9, actually I counted 11, counting y'all, other elected officials, including the commissioners themselves. The resolution was not on the agenda discussed at the March 1st work session. This is the second resolution for local legislation that was not heard at a work session prior to the voting meeting. The first was the resolution requesting formation of a public facilities authority in June. Yes, Director Lewis didn't recommend salary increases in the 2021. He wanted to reevaluate it this year. The ARPA dollars are being used for revenue lost. Well, looking at the CAFR for 2020, there was no revenue lost. 2021 is almost finished, and it doesn't seem like there's going to be a revenue loss in 2021. And maybe that's because you're using some of the ARPA funds to balance the budget rather than to help the citizens. The county is looking for a funding market rate study that will compare the county's salaries for all employees with surrounding counties to make sure they're in line. There was a market compensation study done August 10th, 2021, and it was done through an existing contract that cost the county $27,000 a year. So, in addition, all of the county employees, including all the public safety ones, got a bonus out of the ARPA money of $5,000 or $2,000. So there shouldn't have been any net hourly pay person below $15 an hour. Thank you. To be continued.
Thank you, Ms. Gillard. Thank you for all that you do on behalf of the citizens of Rockdale County. Next up is Ms. Monique Tracy. Ms. Tracy, come on up.
We're actually going to have two speakers, so we're going to pull Deputy Ali first.
Okay, so what? Okay, so let me. Okay, deputies, let me explain to you what I did. All of you all that submitted comment cards. So I think I'm hearing you say that you've got a spokesperson and you don't need all these people up. Is that right? Okay, I like that. That's organization management at its best. I love it. I love it.
So, Mr. Chairman, let me just clarify something real quick. I talked to them before the meeting and told them that, you know, they wanted a spokesperson, but they may go over their 3 minutes.
And you know I'm going to let the police go over their 3 minutes. Absolutely.
So there's that, and that's the man that can do it. So we just one at a time, please.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Doing well. Deputy, if you would give us your name so I'll make sure I know exactly who I have here.
Ashley Robinson.
Ms. Robinson. Thank you, Ms. Robinson. Go right ahead.
Okay, we are here today to address a couple of concerns that we have and would like to find some type of resolution. Our main areas of concern are the $5,000 hazardous pay, the supplement grant, the first responder supplement grant, and our salary. We are still missing the $5,000 of hazardous pay from the HEROES Fund. What terms of the HEROES Fund did the county honor for essential workers? You want me to continue or?
Go ahead and continue.
Okay. The explanations we have heard was the citizens and employees of the county received $100 gift card, well, two $50 gift cards. Not for sure. We have also heard that we haven't received that money due to the county being under an audit. Also, it was allocated towards deputies doing overtime. That's just what we heard, right. Not for sure. Right. We are still missing the $1,000 first responder supplement grant. Where is that money being that the application was made available on October 1st, although the county didn't submit an application until December 8th of last year. The starting pay for a detention deputy is $17.02 an hour, which is roughly $35,400 a year. You have surrounding jobs. You have Target, I just seen on the news, paying about $24 an hour. Hobby Lobby, $18.50 an hour. You have Amazon starting at $18 an hour. I even seen a sign the other day, Gwinnett County bus driver starting at $17.89. Even our neighboring counties, I know you mentioned, you know, bigger counties, Gwinnett County, Hall County receiving $20.30 an hour. Newton County pay raises, I want to say about $18.15 an hour. Even Walton County is receiving $20.35 an hour, and that's further east than we are. I stated all that to say the salary is not enough to survive off of. Yes, we can look at the salary market study, but in all honesty, it's not anything to study. For an example, I'm just going to give you an example of living.
Take your time.
You take a one-bedroom apartment. That's typically what, maybe $1,300, $1,400 a month for a one-bedroom. Utilities, lights, water, gas. You can also add your phone. That's what, roughly $400, a little over. You have child care, $180 a week. What's that? $720, $730 a month. Food, $600 a month. That's roughly $2,800 a month, not to include your car note, your insurance, student loans, which is briefly on hold. But a detention deputy monthly take home after taxes is a little bit under, well, each paycheck is a little under $900, so that's roughly $1,800 a month. The retirement also went up from 7% to 8%, but no increase in pay. We do see that some funds are being allocated towards the sheriff's office. However, jail deputies feel as if we do not see it. The most recent raises was December of 2019, we received a 2.8% raise. March of 2020, we received a, let me back up. December of 2019, it was supposed to be 3%, but according to my ADP, it was 2.8%. March of 2020, there was a 2% raise, and then we received the $5,000 of hazardous pay June 2020. We briefly met with Sheriff Levitt. He stated that all of our raises came from him. It didn't come from the Board of Commissioners. I'm not for sure on that. He said that also those raises came from the vacancies that the sheriff's office had open. So I would like to know, when was the last raise that the county actually gave us? The sheriff's office have 19 new 2022 vehicles. Meanwhile, deputies can't receive a pay raise from any kind from the county nor the sheriff's office. Over the past 2 years, the sheriff's office has managed to adjust the budget to include paying for a second captain for the jail and also a new major for the jail. In the previous years, it have only been ran with one captain for the jail and one major for the entire sheriff's office. We also have a number of countless other positions that is not on the pay scale. I see the emails coming out. We have the AD camp, which is the assistant to the chief. We have the sheriff association lead, the executive director. We have chief of staff. We have a new law enforcement management coordinator. We already had the coordinator, now we got the management coordinator. We got more administrative assistants. So we see these titles, and when you hear executive director, that's not a $20,000, $30,000 job. You see them, even just hearing that name. Within the last 2 years, the sheriff's office has managed to adjust the budget. Okay, I did say that, the captains for the jail. We also seeing the inmates receiving 65-inch Samsung smart TVs in their dorms, along with the tablets. Meanwhile, the inmates got it made. Also, we're seeing more cameras being put up, like in the ISD office, the deputy's little area. But yet, we can't even get proper AC and heat in that office, and that's one of the hottest places in the jail to work. I see that the sheriff's office was granted a 3-year, $550,000 grant for mental health. Yes, we are happy to see them address mental health, but the jail is so short-staffed, that program is not able to operate effectively. We're short. We also seen new hires receiving $3,000 sign-on bonuses. I've been at the agency, last month made 5 years for me. It's not fair that they're receiving sign-on bonuses and I can't even get a tenure pay or just anything to, hey, some type of appreciate something. I also looked at the budget specifically for the sheriff's office. I see a big jump from 2020 to 2021, which increased by $3.7 million. To this previous year, 2022, it decreased a little bit, $270,000. The sheriff also stated that the money not used from the budget go back towards the general fund. How could that money be used for anything else as far as incentives, something? While the budget continues to increase for the most part, deputies feel as though we are placed on the back burner when it comes to our pay or any type of incentives for the deputy that hasn't shown anything other than dedication to their jobs. It is an underestimate of the amount of work we do and the stresses we deal with on a daily. In 2021, there are approximately 19 new deputies assigned to the jail. Approximately 25 of those deputies have voluntarily resigned. From January to March 15th today, there have only been 2 new deputies, with 3 resigned. Currently, the jail have 93 deputies. which is at a 80% capacity. I feel that we need to focus on our retention instead of giving new people bonuses praying that they would stay. Overall, we all know retention is what will attract people and make the recruitment process that much easier, not only for the sheriff's office, but for the county as a whole. The sheriff stated that he would continue to fight for our salary. We would not only like to see a competitive salary, but a salary that is like no other. Thank you for allowing us to voice our opinions and feel as though we are heard.
So I want to take a moment and say thank you to Deputy Robinson. Deputy Robinson, first of all, let me just say this. You did an outstanding job. Give her another round of applause.
Let me just say, as a retired educator who taught middle school and had kids do presentations, that was a A+.
So I do want to, again, thank you for coming and thank all of you all for coming out. I think there definitely are some things to clear up, okay? And because this broadcast is recorded and there's a few people recording it live from this gallery, that's fine. Make sure that you're recording and it's capturing everything I'm about to say. You made reference to several things. In just a moment, I would ask that you all hang tight because I'm going to ask the Director of Talent Management to come and address a couple of things. But there are a few things that I can address immediately. Number one, when it comes to the structure and the leadership of the Rockdale County Sheriff's Office, the chairman or either one of the commissioners have any direct say with that at all. The sheriff, as you know, is an elected official. How he organizes his management and leadership and structure of the sheriff's office is solely a responsibility of the sheriff. Whether he has 2 majors, 3 majors, a lieutenant colonel, a general, or whatever, an admiral, whatever he decides to call it or whatever he decides to do, that's up to the leadership of the sheriff, okay? The Board of Commissioners, we are the funding mechanism for all of county operations. And the county receives its funds through 2 primary areas, property tax and sales tax, okay? And as you often hear, by watching the BOC meetings, you'll see a good number of residents coming in talking about the burden of the property tax. Well, we get it. We understand everything that you all are saying, and that's what we've been fighting for. We realized that if you all wasn't present over on Chambers Drive, we wouldn't have anyone manning that jail over there, and we've got to have you manning that jail and making sure that the inmates are being housed and housed properly. There is a critical need for detention deputies, just like they are for road patrol deputies out in the street. I get it, my colleagues get it, we're clear on that. At this time, I'll ask that you would yield for a moment, take a seat. Director Holmes, I want you to come up and do just a bit of education about the HERO Fund that has been spoken to and some of those other things that we captured from Deputy Robinson, who did a great job.
Yes, yes. Good evening, and thank you again.
And Director, one other point I wanted to make sure I said, Commissioners, up front. This is a bit of education. The Department of Talent Management is really human resources. When there's an issue concerning employees, employee pay, your human resources department, the Department of Talent Management, is your first point of contact. Now, being that you are part of the sheriff's office, after you have done what you need to do through the ranks of your sheriff's department or your sheriff's office, I think then you should follow the internal protocol to make your way over to the Department of Talent Management. These are the professionals. Director Holmes and her team are the professionals who can answer questions about benefits, pay, salary study, because one of the things that we understand, Commissioners, oftentimes a lot of people just don't understand all of it. And sometimes people are talking in the parking lot or at the water cooler, in the coffee room, and they may be miscommunicating information. And as she stated, Deputy Robinson, I heard her say a few times, we heard. Well, if you're hearing from the wrong source, you heard the wrong information. I want to encourage you to make your way to the source. The source is human resources, talent management. Director Holmes.
Yes, good evening, and thank you, Chairman, Madam Commissioners. Thank you to our, turn around for a second, Rockdale County Sheriff's Office, and definitely appreciate coming out and hearing the inquiries. I welcome all of you. I have plenty of cards. You guys are more than welcome to come and sit down with me and go over some of the inquiries that you've asked about. The chairman just referenced about our compensation and classification plan. So yes, the Rockdale County Sheriff's Office can make changes to titles. They can make changes to job descriptions. That's not anything that needs to come before the board in terms of them making those changes. He is the authority on making those titles and job descriptions within Rockdale County Sheriff's Office. What I can do is
he being the sheriff.
The sheriff, yes. Sheriff Levitt. But what we can do is show you when they requested, how they requested, those type of things. That's public information. If you guys want to know when they submitted those changes and when they wanted to make the changes to the titles, they have made some changes recently, and we actually invite the entire county to do that. We're actually in the middle of doing a review cycle as well, so that's not due right now, but you may see even more changes coming up from Rockdale County Sheriff's Office as far as their comp and class plan. As far as I want to speak to the two grants, the Heroes Fund. Mr. Chairman, we have spoken with Finance, we've talked to Rockdale County Sheriff's Office, so we're going to be doing more research as it pertains to the Heroes Fund. That has come up several times, and I definitely look forward to speaking with people about that. I can speak a little more about the First Responders Grant. So that has been submitted as they stated. So the funding is in review. It's under review. It's in that process of being approved. So the Sheriff's Office did the work on that. They diligently submitted all of the information. If there's any discrepancies or anything like that comes back in the system, it will bounce back. It will ask us to review it again. So we're going to continue to work on that. There were multiple submissions from public safety, so that included Rockdale County Fire Rescue, EMA, as well as the Sheriff's Office. So that one is happening. It's under review. So they have submitted that. I wanted to make sure you guys knew that. The other thing I want to talk about is the market study. So that's a hot topic right now. Your Sheriff's Office has actually submitted an additional market study in addition to the one that we actually did via pay scale. So that market study did take place in 2019. We have now gone in and adjusted our numbers. We have taken a look at the numbers that the Sheriff's Office has submitted as well. They were instrumental when we did the first one. So they do their research, we do the research as well. I am pretty confident in terms of proposing that we implement the upcoming market study that were supposed to take place last year, but we're confident that we're going to be looking at doing that again this year. Mr. Chairman, as well as Madam Commissioners and Rockdale County Sheriff's Office, yes, the detention deputy starting pay is $17.02. That is the current pay. We adjusted that the last time. We've moved it. We're definitely moving in the right direction. My proposal is that we continue to do that, continue to look at it, and we are going to be proposing that it increase again as well.
Thank you, Director Holmes. I'm going to yield to Commissioner Washington in just a second, but the last piece of what you just stated is one of the most concerning pieces, because Deputy Robinson made mention to that as well, and she is absolutely correct. I think I just sent you a photo last week as I was driving Pine Log Road at the intersection of Pine Log and 138 and looking straight ahead of me at the plant across the street, and had a big sign, a big banner saying $20 an hour. Yes. So when a law enforcement officer, whether they work in the street or in the jail, I think it's just as dangerous. When at $17 an hour, all of us ought to be embarrassed because there's not too many regular citizens going to put their lives in harm's way like these men and women do in terms of the Sheriff's Office. I think a part of what we said earlier, Chief Cave, has to include having a conversation internally with your leadership team. The other part of it is what I said earlier, is talking to HR, talent management, to make sure you have a clear understanding about what we're doing on behalf of the Board of Commissioners. Commissioner Washington.
Well, I wanted to speak on Deputy Robinson's point about her being here for 5 years but us giving people incentives to come off the street, I would like to figure out something that we could do, a way to address the people that have been here, that have stuck it out, that have come to work every day in the midst of people leaving, because they could have gone anywhere, and they're still here. So we thank you all, and we really are going to bed every night trying to figure this out. It's a balancing act between people who don't want their taxes to move at all and us trying to pay you all. And last year we had to do what we thought was in the best interest of all of Rockdale County, and that was put everything on hold. But we get it. We get it. We're coming out of this pandemic. Everything is changing. We hear you, not just hear you. We think about this all day, every day. You can ask them. We were talking about this at lunch today. So we get it. We're gonna work it out. We got you. Okay, I'm sorry.
And Chairman, I do have plenty of business cards, so anyone who would like to email me, reach out to me, definitely welcome the opportunity to sit down and talk more about what we're doing.
And one of the things I respect about the deputies, particularly those that work on the inside the jail, they don't always have the liberty or the luxury to just make their way over to talent management based upon their work hours and the way that they work. So they don't always have that. But I do encourage you, if nothing else, because I like the way you all have organized and structured yourselves tonight in terms of having a spokesperson who did an excellent job, is perhaps have that person or two to go over to talent management, do a deep dive and research, and hear me on this, get the right information and relay the right information, the correct information to the masses of those deputies who can't make their way over there. Commissioner Williams, did you have another point there you want to make?
Well, you know, having taught school for a lot of years and being funded by a government entity, and for many years, in fact, there were several years we had to take furlough days where we didn't get paid at all, and so I get it. It's really frustrating when you are working for a government entity that has somewhat limited resources, definitely not infinite resources. So I feel exactly what I get it. And I think all three of us are on the same page that we really need to look through what we're doing with salaries for everybody, and including the sheriff's office and fire and rescue. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Director Holmes.
Thank you.
And Director Rutledge, before you had another point. Commissioner, go right ahead.
And I wanted to say, we hear them, we understand, but it's not just our sheriff's deputies, it's everybody. Right. We've lost numerous people because we just couldn't pay them what they were offered other places. Good people that are leaving us because, let's just be honest, $10,000 is a lot of money, you know, and we couldn't compete, we couldn't counter with anything. So we really need to get this under control, or we're going to keep losing people, not just sheriff's deputies, but people across the county. We've got to understand that we are part of the Atlanta Regional Commission, and we are a metropolitan county with a rural attributes. So, you know, we have the best of both worlds, but when people are trying to get paid, we're paying Atlanta prices everywhere in Rockdale County, especially at the gas pump right now.
You know, the other thing I think that Deputy Robinson mentioned that really struck a chord with me too was, and you've mentioned it, is that new recruits are getting a bonus, and you know, how long are they required to stay when they get that bonus? But when we've got deputies who have been here for, you know, 5 years, even 3 years, 2 years, who have stuck it out through a pandemic, through all of the craziness nationally about law enforcement. You know, I think we need to take a look at that.
Well, I certainly appreciate all of them coming out, all of you all coming out tonight. You caught our attention. I want to go back because I don't want to take for granted. I want to make sure that we afford an opportunity for anyone that feels compelled to come speak and share even beyond what Deputy Robinson has had an opportunity to express and explain this evening. I want to allow you that opportunity. So if you're there and you want to have something to say, just come on up. Come on up to the mic, and we certainly want to be able to hear from you. Just need your name, and we'll forward you an opportunity to speak. Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Ambriel Campbell.
Deputy Campbell, okay.
Well, not a deputy anymore.
You were a deputy?
I was.
Okay.
Speaking on what Robinson said, Ashley said, we have some issues because even some of us, like some of the deputies have caught COVID because we have very, very little things to keep us safe there. That's an issue because also I've been there for almost 3 years at the sheriff's office, but I'm no longer going to be a deputy anymore because I got injured by an inmate. With us getting a low pay like we're getting, and of course we're on workman's comp, they only pay us a certain amount of our pay raise. I'm pretty sure Deputy Folks, he's out right now. That means we don't really get anything while we're out of work. And the problem that we're having is I still have children to take care of. I still have a house to take care of. I still have a lot of things to take care of my own. And having a lower $17 an hour and then getting not being able to do overtime, of course, of not being able to work, and we're getting this workman comp thing, we're not seeing anything bringing home to our children. We have to take our kids out of daycare. We have to take our kids out of a lot of things because we don't have the funds anymore. We lose everything. And I don't think people understand that when we get injured at work, we have health issues happen at work, COVID happens at work, anything happens at work, we don't have it at all. We don't have the resources at all. Of course, we pay into you guys. We pay into our basically like our, what do you call them? There you go. And we pay into ourselves or whatever, but we're not seeing it. I tried to reach out to talent management before about short-term and long-term disability. I got hurt in January of 2021. I went out for my first surgery in April. Went in my second surgery in November. I have not been back to work. And I'm over at Warrants Division now because I was not able to go back to work. I had to find, of course, a pay cut job. I had to lose a pay cut because I was a deputy making a certain amount. Then I had to take a civilian job to even stay at the county. And I feel like it's not fair because we bust our butts every day. We get up every morning and we make sure danger or whatever to get back home to our family. And then we're not getting treated equally. It's an issue. But then everybody wants to know, why do we quit? Or why do not people want to go to different counties and get away because we're not getting that respect. So I appreciate y'all understand or trying to understand where we're coming from. But I really hope that y'all look into something because you have to think about when we get hurt, injured, or anything happens to us, we don't get anything.
So again, I appreciate you, and again, if we have to be here all night, I'm going to hear from everyone that wants to speak. But I do have a question. Have you all had an opportunity, just like you're having a very candid conversation with the Board of Commissioners, have you all had an opportunity to have a conversation like this or similar to this with the sheriff?
Yes. There we go.
Okay.
And he tells you that.
Okay.
And he referred us to you guys.
Okay. Okay. All right. Very good. All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner.
Good afternoon.
My name is Deputy Ali, and I just want to point out something real quick is that.
And Deputy, if you would keep your talking into the mic that way, they can hear you back there, but if you just look this way and talk this way, that way all those that's listening can hear you.
I want to point out something. We're still here not because we know we can go get a job at Target for $24 an hour. We're here because we love what we do. And I want to point out something to you. Deputy Stewart, stand up. 20 years, New York. police officer. Deputy Wiley, firefighter, EMS. Deputy Pearson, 15 years in the prison. You have a wealth of experience here. So we come from a place of decades of law enforcement. Myself, investigated for 20 years in Washington, D.C. And we're here because we love our job. It's not that what we heard brought us here. It came from authority. It didn't come from Deputy Wiley. It didn't come from the parking lot. It came from the people that has the white shirts. So we were wondering if the money was allocated, as the Heroes Fund was allocated to us, where is it? Why haven't we received it? And so I'm not saying, pass the buck. We came here, you're telling us go there, he's gonna tell us come back. It's not a back and forth thing. We stayed through the coronavirus. The federal government issued us a package. We know, we did the research. We have 6 pages of nothing but research. So it's not that we are just making it up. No, we know that the money was allocated to the federal government for essential employees. We worked 2 years, understaffed, and still came to work every day under harsh conditions, still showed up for work, didn't miss a day, and some of us got sick. Right now, he almost died from corona working in the jail. And so there's bigger issues here that needs to be addressed. It's just not the $17 an hour that we know that we're worth way more than that. It's about being fair. It's about fairness. It's about fairness across the board. We're well capable of knowing that the jail has a budget that is allocated to $180,000 for inmates. We are also aware that it has a budget that says, where transportation is another $170,000. Our budget, we have 3 buildings. The budget for the administration buildings is $11 million. The budget for the jail deputy salary is almost $2 million. And that says volumes to people like us who come to work every day, and we do our job to the fullest. And it's a dangerous job on top of that. Their insurance went up. I'm 50 years old. I went to the doctor's the other day to go get my heart checked. It's an annual routine. They wanted $500 up front. So you got the retirement that went up and the health insurance that went up, and we can't even afford to go to the doctor. So there's bigger issues that needs to be addressed across the board. And I urge you, I ask you to please, I understand the citizens of Rockdale County. They're important, they're just as important as us. We keep them safe, right? And we like that they're behaving, so make our job a little bit less manageable. But the reality of it is that we need help too. And I urge you to consider a budget and not just a pay raise. If you can't give us a pay raise, then at least give us bonuses. Keep us here. The retention needs to stay. Because if not, these people, these deputies you see right here ain't gonna be here next year. And you're not gonna be here the next year. And I wanna stay because I love my job. And I thank you for your time.
Deputy Ali, thank you so much.
So the Heroes Fund, have you yielded to me?
Go right ahead.
Okay, so this is the first time I'm ever hearing of this Heroes Fund.
Me
This
too.
tonight, right here, right now. So for anybody to say that we received the Heroes Fund, talent management, have you?
No, we have not.
So we are telling you, and we have, if we got the money, we would have to distribute it. We have not received that we know of this money. So what I would like is, if the chair would concede, is for us to do the research into the Heroes Fund so that we can get you all the answers that you all are asking for, because I get it. That's $5,000 that would go a long way in making sure that you all are compensated for what you all have done and been through and everything. But I want to answer too. I want to know what's going on with it.
And I'm aware of it. I'm aware of the inquiry. So we have not received, applied for, submitted anything from the Heroes Fund. Deputy Robertson just asked me, where did the money come from for the $5,000? That money was from the ARPA resources that were allocated. So it's not Heroes, it was ARPA. So 2 different funds.
So why
Make sure
haven't we
it's
applied for a Heroes Fund?
I'm not aware of the
Mr.
Heroes
Chairman,
Fund.
can I speak on that? So
Thank
I just
you.
want to let you know that there was a bill that was passed in May of 2021 that deals with the protection of local officers, and it's called the HEROES Act. And that's what y'all are referring to. I'm sure you've done your research. I'm preaching to the choir right now. That's something you have to apply for. It has to be applied for. The $1,000 that's coming down, that's coming from the state. The state's holding it up right now. That hasn't been released. The $5,000 came from Rockdale County. That came from our ARPA funding, which was also federal money. So
Director, I think I just
Thank
heard you say three things.
Yes.
Number one, you talked about the point of origin for the HEROES
Yes.
Fund. It has to be applied
You have to apply for it.
And I think the agency, the law enforcement agency,
Yes.
needs to make application.
So that's the
Number-
sheriff's
number-
office, I'm so sorry. The sheriff's office, not us, would make
So
application.
whatever local agency is interested in pulling down the funds, like if it was EMA, if it was the sheriff's office, the city of Conyers, that kind of thing, that's what you would do.
Can we do it as a county, though? Can we?
Well,
the
you
county?
know, honestly, I have not looked at this yet, so yeah, no, I was reading it as you were talking, so, but as far as the criteria, because as you know, all federal money, you have to do something to apply for it, typically in a grant format. Not sure if this one's a grant format, but you have to
Commissioner,
apply.
one of the things, that's what I was doing. I want to make sure that these deputies leave with clear communication and clear understanding. What Director Rutledge just pointed out was the HERO funds is a fund that has to be applied for. The additional funding that came from the state of Georgia, the governor, who don't sit here, that money comes from the state.
And we applied for that back in October. We just haven't seen the funding yet.
Right.
So we've turned all that in. The $5,000 was from the federal funds, the ARPA funds that Rockdale County issued out.
Which we gave
The Board of Commissioners.
Right.
So
Again, as I continue to hear this, I'm still hearing, and we're not interested, I like what Deputy Ali just mentioned, we're not interested in the tit for tat or the back and forth or the pointing of the blame.
Right.
We want to make sure all of our employees, include the deputies, get what they do deserve. I like what Deputy Robinson said again, and she said it and she summed it up. There's nothing to study. There's nothing to study. These folks need their pay just like the rest of our employees throughout county government. We've made it plain and clear. Now, I think it'll sound like a broken record, but the three of us have made it plain and clear that not only do we support law enforcement, but we support all of the employees for Rockdale County. We're not going to point a blame. What we want to do is take complete ownership, because leadership is exactly that, it's ownership. But there has to be clear definition and clear understanding as to the point of origin as to where these funds come from. A lot of times when someone doesn't know how to explain it, they'll just say, go to them, or they're the problem. Well, I think if you slow down and think about, there's money that was allocated or promised coming out of the state of Georgia. That's the governor's office. And y'all know the governor's office is not on Millstead Avenue in Rockdale County. There's the HEROES Fund. Well, if I was the chief of police or the sheriff of the county, I'd be applying for every damn fund available for my deputies or my officers that was out there. I wouldn't be waiting on anybody else to do what I need to be doing for my own people. So I'm just putting it out there very clearly. We're going to do our part, but I just want to make sure that you all understand where the rubber meets the road. I'm going to yield because I want to hear, is there another deputy that want to speak before we exit here tonight? Again, let me say thank you to each of you first of all, for the job that you do.
Absolutely. We
appreciate the sacrifice that you make. This $17 and some change an hour, it is crazy embarrassing. This market is beyond competitive. We've lost employees from every department all over Rockdale County due to what's happening in the market right now. My colleagues, Commissioner Washington and Commissioner Williams, multiple times, and here we are now in the third month of the year, they've said already, starting last year, in reference to the tax digest and the millage rate, they've all but said, don't worry, we're not doing a rollback in 2022. July is coming, a decision time is coming, and you can show back up during that time when it's time for the millage rate and just look us in the eye and see what we're going to do. I've already made a decision. I understand that if the citizens want quality public safety in Rockdale County, in the streets and housing of inmates in the jail, they got to do what? Pay for it. Okay. So we're prepared to do what we need to do, and it applies to every department in county government. There's no way we're going to have parks look at the way parks look unless we pay the people who maintain and service the parks. And that goes on and on throughout all of county. And I really do appreciate you pointing out the different levels of experience and backgrounds, because we don't know you all individually. And you had a few of your colleagues to stand up talking about years of working in the prison system, a police officer from New York, a firefighter, all of those. That's a lot of experience wearing a sheriff's deputy uniform inside the jail. We don't take that for granted. We appreciate what you all do. Commissioner, is there anything else on you towards the deputies?
I'm so glad you all came. Thank you all for coming, because this being televised, everybody gets to see the decision that we make. When we decide one thing, how it affects everybody else. So thank you all for coming, because I know when it was millage rate time, I got calls and emails and text everybody. Why would you all need to not take a rollback rate? This is why. We couldn't do what we needed to do to adjust for the cost of living, because we decided to maintain a certain status quo. And they were telling us, our financial advisors, our finance, I thought he was going to quit because we decided to take the rollback rate and not do the things we needed to do with the millage rate. So thank you all so much for coming, and I appreciate it more than you all know.
Commissioner Williams?
And I just echo what Commissioner Washington has said. I appreciate it very much that you came. I appreciate those that have spoken, and you know, it supports what we're going to do this year with our millage rate. So we appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Commissioners. I don't have any other public comment, and guess what? We were still in public comment, by the way. That was all public comment. Yes, it was. So at this time, Commissioners, I'm going to yield again to you all for board comment. And the clock is on you, Commissioner Washington.
I have more comments. I did want to go back and address the judge's salary, because it was said, you know, that we got the COA raises and whatever, and that we haven't, the judges and other elected officials haven't received a county a raise in 20 years. And what that is they haven't done the market study to look at other judges, other county elected officials in the area to see what they're making versus what we're making in 20 years. So I wanted to be clear on that has not occurred. And
in terms of the county supplement.
In terms of the county supplement, exactly. And to be honest, even with this, we're still going to be woefully under what everybody else is. And that speaks to your district attorney. That speaks to, and it just being in the legal field, what we pay our district attorney, first year students coming out of law school are making more than our district attorney is making, which makes absolutely no sense, because she is such a great person in the legal profession. Our clerk of court and all of our elected officials, they deserve to have their salary looked at. Our coroner, everybody deserves to have their salary looked at, and for us to have a county supplement. So I did want to also address that. That's all I have, except for my women's history segment, and of course whatever I have to say after Dr. Williams makes her comments. But my women's history profile is Miss Ketanji Brown Jackson, who is the historic U.S. Supreme Court nominee. I could not be more proud to sit here giving accolades to Brown, Brown Jackson. She would be the first African-American female to serve on the United States Supreme Court. And the thing I love the most about her, even though she's Harvard educated, her parents were school teachers, both of them. She had she had two uncles that were members of law enforcement, but she also had an uncle that was on the other side of law enforcement. So to me,
and she wasn't ashamed to say it.
And that's who we are. That we have all kinds of family members, and you know, we love them through it. So, you know, I'm so proud, first of this administration for picking someone, but the pride that I feel for being able to say Ketanji Jackson Brown will hopefully be our next Supreme Court justice gives me great joy. And so far, that's all I have.
All right, Commissioner Williams.
So this afternoon, I had quite an extensive meeting with Judge Woods because I wanted to learn all about the juvenile justice system. I've spent a lot of years and time working with criminal justice at the adult level, but I wanted to find out what we were doing for our juveniles. And I've got a whole lot of different pages. But one of the things that I think, they have an impact center that has day programming and evening programming. And I asked her about what day programming. Well, it's for students who have either been suspended from school or expelled. You know, you don't want to just leave them out on the streets or home alone while their parents are working. And so they have a place to go, but they need more funding. And so I really would like to take a look at that. They also have a mentoring program, and she felt like that mentoring program makes a huge difference in children's lives. She said they have plenty of women mentors, but they really need male mentors because 9 out of 10 of the youth who are involved in the justice system are young men, and they need to see a role model of somebody who, you know, has made a difference.
Look at all of these men.
This whole front row, right?
This whole, all of them.
Uh-huh.
Did you bring your applications?
So, as I listened to her tell me about the programs and then have her say, but I don't have enough money to do everything that would really be helpful. You know, I felt like we need to be looking at that. Mm-hmm. Because our youth, we talk a lot about supporting our youth.
Right.
And if we can get them young, when they're thinking about getting into trouble or they've barely gotten into trouble, because there are programs she was telling me about today for those that are at middle risk and high risk, but that particular program, which is very effective, is not available for youth at low risk. Mm-hmm. And so it's those, you know, they're kind of caught in the middle. And we need to be thinking about those.
Can I say that you've done a tremendous job on criminal justice reform, just across the board, the mental health, the things that you work with the sheriff, and now to cross over into juvenile, it's tremendous. So thank you.
Well, thank you. So, really good news is we received from NACO, one of 10 counties nationwide, the Convening County Courts and Justice Leaders, a framework for cross-system collaboration. And we have been invited to participate in it. It's a year-long program where they will walk us through some of the strategic things that we need to be doing to gathering data, to getting a diversion center going, to you know, just all the details. So I'm really excited about that. You know, part of that comes because we've just been doing a lot of work. And you know, I mean, we had the experience to be able to put onto the application. But the other half of that is the relationship. Because they know at the national level who Rockdale County is. And Nastasha Walsh, who heads up Stepping Up, knows who we are at Rockdale County. And so, you know, it's that you got to work, you got to do the work and put it in, but you also have to couple that with the relationships. And so that really was interesting to me. All right, the third thing is my women's history, which is not about any particular woman, but it's 2 quotes from women, and the quotes I felt like were really good. So what happened? I just lost it. Here we go. Ruth Bader Ginsburg said, "Fight for the things that you care about." There we are. "But do it in a way that will lead others to join you." And I think, you know, you have exemplified that tonight. The other quote is from Marie Curie. I don't know if you studied Madame Curie back when you were a kid learning about science in elementary school, but I remember being acquainted with her. But here's a quote from her. "Life is not easy for any of us, but what of that? We must have perseverance and, above all, confidence in ourselves. We must believe that we are gifted for something and that this thing must be attained." And I thought, for a woman who really had a lot of opposition because women didn't they didn't discover things in science, it was always the men. We all are gifted in something, and we need to use that to get what we're working for. So those are my comments.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. So I'll start off with women history. In fact, I had a slew of names I was going to talk about tonight, but I've been changed, and thanks to Deputy Robinson, she changed it. So she's my women's history person tonight. Give her a round of applause. And you talk about the bravery of women being able to do things that for so many years that only men received credit for. And a lot of times it was women behind the scenes getting those things done. It was the men getting the credit. But I really appreciate what the deputy has done tonight to come and represent her colleagues and the members of the detention unit over at the Rockdale County Sheriff's Office. Again, we want to let you know that we certainly do appreciate each of you, and we hear you loud and clear, and know that it is a process, but we're working toward and moving in that direction. I want to call up Director Lewis just to come up and kind of do a quick recap of what you presented on last week, because a lot of the deputies didn't even watch the presentation or weren't aware of it. I want to make sure that the message comes across very clearly in terms of your presentation last week.
Absolutely. So last week I presented the findings from, for 2 reasons we're able to implement the market study at the mid-year. One is because the federal government has given us more money to use for revenue loss. And 2, and that amount is now up to $10 million. And 2, we found that we don't need as much as we initially thought for our revenue loss for FY21. And so that allows us to use some money for operations for FY22. There's a variety of things that we wanted to do, but one of the things that the board had asked me during the budget session for FY22 was to implement the market study, and I make the recommendation at that time that we wait till mid-year to look at it because of the millage rate. So that was what occurred last week.
Thank you so much. It's not mid-year yet. This is just the tail end of the first quarter, and we're already looking at it. So that's a clear message that the board is certainly advocating on behalf of all of the employees of Rockdale County. The next thing I want to do is have the Public Relations Department to show us our video from Grab the Bill by the Horn. Each year, Executive Director Jennifer Rutledge is tasked with making her way down to the state capitol to engage with our lobbyists as well as our state delegation on behalf of Rockdale County. There's a little bit of education there if you listen to this presentation and hear what she's talking about as she focuses on redistricting. That's been a hot word throughout the state of Georgia, and that certainly includes the metro area as well.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Rutledge, Director of Legislative Affairs, and you're watching Grab the Bill by the Horns. Today we'll be discussing redistricting, what it is, the process behind it, and how you can get involved. As the population grows, the number of people in each district must be adjusted so that the population in each district is as close to equal as possible. This is done by redistricting, or changing the boundary lines of the districts. One purpose of redistricting is to ensure that districts are roughly equal to each other. Equalizing population ensures that each individual's vote counts the same toward their representatives. The second reason is that maps must also comply with the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and with traditional principles of redistricting, like ensuring communities of interest are represented, avoiding major changes to existing representation in the legislature, and keeping local government jurisdictions whole. In Georgia, according to the 2020 census, the population total is 10,711,908 people. Because of this population increase, each of our 14 congressional districts will need to adjust to have 765,136 people in them. At the state level, we have 56 state senators and 180 representatives in the state house elected by districts. Each of our 56 state senate districts will be redrawn to now include around 191,284 people. And each of our 180 state house districts will also need to increase in population size to around 59,511 people. In the Georgia General Assembly, there is a standing committee on redistricting in both the House and the Senate. Each committee has a chairman. So when does redistricting take place? Traditionally, the governor of Georgia issues a call for a special legislative session in the late summer or early fall, following the arrival of the new census data, which is every 10 years. The sole purpose of this session is to adopt newly redrawn maps for all statewide district plans and may also include the new maps for local county commission or school board districts. The session occurs so that all county election officials will have sufficient time to update voter district assignments once the process is complete, prior to elections the next year. After the Georgia General Assembly adopts new maps and the governor signs the bills into law, they become the new election districts for use in the next election cycle or on the date specified in the legislation. In 2021, with COVID-related delays in the census, the special session took place later on in the year because full census data wasn't received until September, and in turn, the special session of the Georgia General Assembly was called by the governor in November 2021. The Georgia General Assembly is slated to adopt these new maps during the 2022 session, and Governor Brian Kemp will subsequently sign those maps into law, creating the new districts. Thank you for watching, and remember to be proactive in learning about the legislative process so you can grab the bill by the horns.
I want to say thank you to our Public Relations Department and to our Director of Legislative Affairs, Director Rutledge, the work that she does in terms of educating the local community about what happens down at the state capitol, as well as those things that impact Rockdale County on the national and the federal level. So having this update really provides understanding and education. This is going to be running on Channel 23 for quite some time. The next one we want to look at is what we had all hands on deck last Friday And thanks to Chief Cabe and his leadership, the war on litter. We'll take a look at some of the video that, say again? While you talk about it, discuss it. Yeah. So last week, Chief Cabe, I want to yield to you because you led this effort on behalf of the Chairman's office.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Madam Commissioners. This was a fantastic event. Chairman Nesbitt's War on Litter took place on Friday, March 11th. It took place from sunrise to sunset. We began the day at 6:51 a.m., which was sunrise, and we had approximately 170 employees collectively from Rockdale County and also the city of Conyers that spanned out through the entire county and picked up litter, debris, and other items from the roadways here in Rockdale County. County employees were divided into 6 different zones. We had different equipment that was out, as you can see, our stormwater vac truck. We had elected officials. We had county employees that were out collecting the garbage from the sides of the roadways. In all, right now, our calculations are just county employees collected almost 700 bags of trash, litter, and debris from the roadways here in the county. Out of those 700 bags, we had approximately an additional 300 from the city of Conyers that were added to that. So well over 1,000 bags of trash, litter, and debris was collected from the streets. Excuse me. We also spanned through the county and identified damaged street signs, damaged guardrails, and reported those to the Rockdale Department of Transportation. There were multiple car batteries, appliances, furniture, car parts, tires that were collected from the shoulder of the roadways. We spanned all the way through the entire day through the 6 zones. We were from the far north end of Rockdale County all the way to the far south end of Rockdale County. We had 6 of our directors that participated and other directors that came out just to participate in the event. As the event took place, you can tell here in this picture, they held briefings in advance to talk about strategy and to make sure that we focused on as many roadways as possible as we went through the entire county. All of these employees worked well together. They were represented by every single county department that participated in this event, and once all of the trash was collected, it was obviously taken to secure locations that were identified through the various roll-top dumpsters that we had. But you'll notice here the before picture, how some of these streets looked, and then the after picture as they moved through. There were some roadways, Commissioner, Madam Commissioners, that took us well over 3 to 4 hours to address. In one particular instance, Mr. Chairman, was on Rockdale Industrial Boulevard. You spent a lot of time out there yourself. You were on multiple roadways, it seemed like, throughout the entire event, but it really sent a clear message to the community. We got a lot of positive feedback from citizens that even pulled off on the shoulder to thank us for their work. I'd also like to thank the Rockdale County Sheriff's Office for your support. You had deputies that assisted us in all 6 zones. The City of Conyers Police Department, Rockdale County Fire Rescue was out. We had red lights, blue lights, and amber lights that spanned out through the entire county. So all in all, a very successful event where a lot of items were cleaned up, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say it doesn't stop there.
It doesn't, Chief, but I want to say thank you to you and all of our volunteer employees, because it was presented in a way that they were able to decide to participate or not. But again, a big thank you to Mayor Evans and the city manager, Tony Lucas, and the employees from the city of Conyers. This was a joint effort between the county and the city. It's always a good look when we can come together on a project, but the big question is, what will we do from here? And that's the question for the citizens. And sad but true, I don't think all of what we constantly see in our community is always coming from people who live here. Sometimes it's coming from folks who pass through our community and don't live here. The very next day, on the north side of Rockdale County on Highway 138, there was a mattress that we sent Mr. Brown out to pick up. Someone just the very next day, after all of that effort we done, someone just in the middle of Highway 138 just drops a mattress off. And you just wonder when people are doing this kind of stuff that no one would see them. But we do have the See Something, Say Something hotline, and we encourage folks to report these folks who are littering and trashing up our community like this. It takes a lot of work. But we encourage all of those citizens to make sure you properly dispose of waste and household garbage in proper spaces and places that's been designated to dispose. It was a successful event, and we certainly do appreciate all of the hands on deck that came out last Friday. I don't want to belabor our meeting tonight. I want to make sure, Chief, that we're not missing any point that we do need to point out before I yield to Director Rutledge. Director Rutledge, is there any need or reason for executive session this evening?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming out. This meeting is adjourned.